Hello everyone, good evening, welcome to the United Stand, welcome to this evening's show. We're mixing it up again, a bit of a mixed bag of the panel again, just freshening it up every time for you guys, just the way you like it. With me tonight discussing everything as we head into the last week of the transfer window. We're going to touch on, obviously, yesterday's game as well, which a lot of people have had opinions on already. Joining me tonight, we've got Kev, we've got Beth, and Joe. Sorry, mate.
Joe, it's all right. It's all right. My man was mixed up the whole time.
I got completely mixed up then with my names. You know what it was? I'm still angry from yesterday, guys. So I'm just going to run in. I'm going to run into the show and start everything off. Yeah, let's get into it, guys. You haven't seen the video already. Beth was doing her best to plug away at Romano, trying to get the inside info and everything going down as we had. Actually, can't believe into the last week of the transfer window already. I mean, it's flown by. Not too long ago, it seemed like we had ages to try and get deals done. But Beth, I've got to start with you. Romano, he was trying his best to try and encourage us. You were trying to get into him, trying to plug him for the extra info. We'll start with Donny van der Beek because that's where he sort of went in there quite deep on Donny van der Beek, didn't he, there, in terms of how he's actually feeling, where he wants to be in terms of a position in this team this season.
Yeah, it is one of them. I was trying my best, guys, to get the info, but obviously a week to go, I don't think even he's really sure what's going to happen in the final coming days of the transfer window. So he's not going to want to put some out there that couldn't actually happen. But with Donny van der Beek, I feel like it was quite interesting because Romano actually got quite annoyed about it in the interview himself personally, because he was saying, obviously, Donny's got a great attitude. He's a great player. He would, even if he felt like there was disrespect, he would never come to the club and say anything because he's just an absolute professional. Apparently, he's really working hard in training. He's told all he wants to be part of the project. And when Van der Beek actually signed, Ollie did say to him, you are part of this project, and pitched that to him to help his move go through. So obviously we can put it out there that maybe he wasn't Ollie's signing, but at the end of the day, he talked to Ollie a lot before he signed. So can we really use that as much of an excuse? I'm not sure. I don't think there's really any excuse for a player of that caliber, a player of that intelligence to not even get minutes. Fair enough if he's not getting into the starting 11 straight away, because you do need to adapt to the Premier League. You do need to bulk up a little bit and you need to get used to the style of play. Some players take longer than others. Like Bruno came in and did straight away. Not everyone's like that. So I get that point. But when you're literally not getting used at all, last season he got 5 minutes off the bench occasionally, but he'd always be at the 85th minute. And this season, you're 2 games in, you've been told you're part of the plan. You've been playing pre-season, you've been playing pretty well. I don't think there's much else he can do. And there's players that have just had COVID coming on before you that have been linked to a move. He's down the pecking order massively in the midfield options. I mean, we can tell that. When it was at Leeds and it was 5-1, Matic got a call up before him. You could have easily put Donny in that midfield. It would have been fine. But no, again, it's Southampton. You could have moved Donny into midfield, kept Pogba on the left. But no, he chose to bring Lingard on and put Pogba into the midfield. It's just very confusing because it seems like Ollie doesn't want to use him. I don't know if it's because he's annoyed that he didn't want that signing and he's proving a point. I don't know if he generally just doesn't rate him. But I think he at least deserves a little bit of a chance because you can't just expect someone to come on for 5 minutes and prove everything in them 5 minutes. And I even said today, look, if he's not going to get used, I would rather us just sell him, get some money and bring someone else in that is going to get used. And I hope he goes elsewhere and smashes it. But Romano said if he isn't convinced he's part of the project in this week, then he might actually end up possibly seeking a move. And I wouldn't blame him, to be honest. He has tried to wait it out and it's just not happened.
He has. I mean, Joe, they're best talking about game time there. No player can really find his feet, especially in a new club. He needs game time. He needs consistent game time. I mean, in pre-season, Joe, it looked like Donny van der Beek was he was really staking a claim to go and start the season, I thought. And then we were all asking that question, weren't we? First game of the season, you know what? He looked like our fittest midfielder. And we're all like, this could be the time. This could be when Donny comes in. But no. And it's hard to figure out what Ollie's thinking with Donny van der Beek there because pecking order, like Beth said, Joe, I mean, how far down is it?
I think he's quite far down. I'm not even that surprised. I actually don't think he's done anything to prove that he's good enough to be a starting 11 for United. I understand the argument that he's not been given minutes. 5 minutes off the bench doesn't count for anything, okay? I'll even say he obviously did well in pre-season, But like everyone's trying to just really gain fitness in preseason. Some players are trying to shine, and he did bulk up, and I did feel he was going to get the opportunity. But let's be honest, when he was signed in the first place, for me anyway, and I think a lot of people think the same way as this was when Pogba goes, he's going to take over. I think at this point this season, I thought Pogba would be gone. And I thought that Donny would be kind of brought in after that year to, this is your position. Like, he's not a holding midfielder. He's not further up the pitch. Well, he's not going to take it off Bruno. I thought it was to replace Pogba. Since Pogba looks like he's staying at least for one more season, I don't see, and especially in the form he's in it, Donny's nowhere near taking that position. So I'm not really surprised at the way this has gone. And if it continues on, I see him leaving shortly. And I don't really mind. He hasn't done anything. You know, he's like, the Eredivisie is so low down, and to boss that league means nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like Virgil van Dijk went to Southampton after Celtic to prove what the top quality footballer he was. Unfortunately, maybe Donny van de Beek should have gone to a smaller club before going to United, because being able to do it the odd time in the Champions League and doing it in the Eredivisie constantly is a lot easier than have to fight for your place in the top 6 or top 4 Premier League club. So I just don't think that he's up for it from what I'm seeing. And that's me maybe having more faith in the manager that he's doing the right thing here. Maybe he'll go to another club and then I'll be proved wrong. But I'm just having faith in being like, well, if he's not getting the team for a reason, and he's never going to take a spot off Pogba, especially in the form he's in. So I think it's a case of he's low down the pecking order because maybe he's just not good enough.
Can I just put something out there? Do you not think, you think that you don't think he deserves to come on, for example, when we're winning 5-1 over a player like Matic? You don't think that he can play maybe better in some games than McTominay and Fred?
I see. My personal opinion, I'd rather have someone like Donny van de Beek rather than have McFred. Like, I'm not defending McFred at all. I would rather if they were gone. Well, I love McTominay. I'd rather if some of them were gone forever. But in the style of play that Solskjaer wants to play, he obviously does not trust him to be in that position yet, and he's had him for a year to try get him up to that. And maybe it'll ruin his game by doing that, but that's obviously the way Solskjaer wants to play. So I think coming on for 5 minutes makes no sense. I don't think that adds anything to a footballer. I don't think it takes anything away. It's just pointless. I think he must be getting 20, 25 minutes at least if he's coming on as a sub. So obviously he just doesn't trust him to do what he needs to do to see out games, whatever it is. And maybe we should just look at that and maybe go Solskjaer might be onto something because he's seen him week in, week out. And unless the only way he can be proved right or proved wrong is if Donny goes somewhere else and is exceptional, or maybe he's at the level that Solskjaer sees him at. It's genuinely, I'm not sure. That's the thing is, I think there's a lot more going on than what we're seeing, because he's never really impressed me whenever I've seen him. I know he had a great debut where he scored against Palace a couple of other times, but I've never been blown away by any time he's been on the field. So I don't really get the big fanfare. And I do always hope that he will become a great player, because there is something there, but maybe it's just not a Man United.
I mean, Kev, coming to you on Donny, mate. I mean, we've all wanted to see what Beth's talking about there, given a chance. Obviously, Joe has his point of view on it, and I've heard other people say exactly the same thing as what Joe has there. He hasn't really done much when he's been on the pitch, and I do agree slightly with Beth on the fact that he hasn't had enough time. The 2 minutes he got against City when we were 2-0 down, I thought was just a disgrace, to be honest. I thought it was throwing a man under the bus, and really felt sorry for the guy. But he's gone through this whole new nutritional program this summer. He's made an effort, mate. Is it a case of he actually thought that Pogba was going this summer, and this might have been his chance to really bulk up, get ready for the season and be as ready as he ever is? But now with what's happened at PSG, could the whole Pogba scenario have just completely ruined this for him? And Romano went in deep, mate. He did say that keep an eye out in the next few days for Donny. So this is something he's seriously considering, Kev, mate. And someone just said it in a super chat there. I think it was Ahmed who said, can you imagine Donny van de Beek leaving before Jesse Lingard and Phil Jones? What does that say about the football club, mate?
Listen, Joe makes a good point about Pogba. And I do think that is true, that Manchester United were definitely planning for life without Pogba. And I think the Messi signing at PSG has kind of changed that now, because Pogba is going to have to wait. There is nowhere else he can kind of go this summer. I can't agree with Joe on the Donny van de Beek. How is he the only way that he can impress us and show what he's all about, Manchester United, which we did see it in that great run, the Ajax team they had. Donny van de Beek was a vital part of that. What I would say is, how are we supposed to know what he's about if he's not getting game time? Adam, great point. I was fuming when he brought him on against Man City, because I thought, well, what's that actually saying to Donny van der Beek? He wants to be given an opportunity. There's no point bringing him on with 5 minutes left against a Man City team that are dominating you and you're 2-0 down. You know, you're hardly going on. Like Beth says, you know, if you can't get on against Southampton yesterday, or you cannot get in that team ahead of Matic or Fred, you've got no hope. No, I mean, I'm at the stage where I had to actually Google, you know, if Solskjaer had a daughter. I was going down the kind of route of David Moyes and Salah, which he hasn't, you know, so I ruled that out. It really is to the point where you think, what has the lad done to deserve the way that he's being treated? Because you can see it in the comment section. I know #free Donny and all this, but how can we gauge what this player is if we don't see him given time? And when I say given time, start him in a game. I've seen him start games for Manchester United, and he's done well. He's not done anything wrong. He's certainly never put in a worse performance than what I've seen from Fred yesterday. So if you want to
funnily enough on that, Kev, last time, one game I can remember him starting last season was away at Southampton when I think he got man of the match. He played actually quite well.
I thought that was the start of it for him.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I mentioned it yesterday, Bev, there. I mean, I looked at that. I was right down at the corner flag where United were warming up, and I thought, you know what, there's £150 million worth of Ole's recent signings sat there on the bench. And Donny's thinking, God, he's just spent 110 million here and needs to sit on the bench next to me as well. And that's in Varane and Sancho. Saying, what chance have I got here? But I mean, you look at it and you go, the only games he's played or started are nothing games, Bev. The games like the Leicester last season when he put a whole different team out. The end of the game, end of the season against Leicester. And you've got to think, what is the mindset of a player like that now when he knows that no matter what he does in a game, like you said, Southampton, you thought it was the start for him, Beth. But exactly. What is the player's mindset like if he knows he can play that well, but he's just going to get dropped next week?
Exactly. And I really do think it massively ruins players' confidence. He is only a young lad still. I think he's 23, 24. So he is still young. And I think he did come to Manchester United thinking he was going to be in that team. And obviously, I thought last year, give Ole the benefit of the doubt, he might not have been quite ready. He might have needed to learn the United way more, learn the tactics, learn how to bulk up. But when you've seen it at the start of the season, people say we're only 2 games in. And Ole says in his press conference, Donny's going to be important for us. You can't just bench a player week in, week out, give them absolutely nothing, and then say in a press conference they're going to be important to us. Because I think that's deceiving in itself, because it's a lie, isn't it? If you're not playing in the important games, that is a blatant lie. And a player can read through that. And you just saying that in a press conference isn't going to keep a player's confidence up. At the end of the day, any time that I've seen him play, I think he's been good. I think he knows his spatial awareness. I think his passing's good. I think he moves the ball quickly. And how many times have we been in them games where we need someone to shift the ball quickly and we need to break down a low block and he's still sat on the bench not getting used? If I was him and I knew the way I played and I still weren't getting even looked at, in my head, my confidence would be going lower and lower and lower. I'd be thinking, does my game not fit here? Am I just not wanted here? And that does hurt a player's mindset. I mean, Romano said he's got a great attitude and he's still trying really hard to be part of the project. And I respect the player a lot more for that, to be honest, because he's not kicked up any fuss. He still sits there on the bench every week, waits week in, week out for his chance. And I'm sorry, I don't even think 20 minutes in a game is enough for him now. He does need to get a start and needs to get a run of games. If you play well, you should keep your place in certain cases. With the Varane and Sancho thing, I do think they should have been put into the team 2 games ago, to be honest with you. But anyway, getting back to that point, he played well in the Southampton game. I think he played well in another game. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Everton maybe. And he was playing a bit of a deeper role because people say you can only play the 10. I actually don't even think Bruno's his competition. I think that the number 10 is over. He's never going to get that space. I think being the more attacking option in the pivot is probably where he's fighting for. And if Pogba's playing on the left at the moment, I don't understand how Donny can come in and fill that role, especially at home at Old Trafford. You shouldn't be playing with 2 CDMs. You should be playing with someone who can spread the ball about a bit. And the fact that he's not even getting looked at, I think his mindset will be, well, I'm going to keep trying, but if I literally get nowhere, then I'm going to have to seek options elsewhere, because there's no point just sitting there for the whole season. He needs game time. He wants to be in the international team, and he's a young player that's trying to grow his career. I do think it is unfair that he's not even getting a look in at all.
Yeah, quickly before we move on. Sorry, Kev, go ahead, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Carry on, mate.
Was it the Leipzig game at Old Trafford that he started? You got man of the match.
I think it was, actually.
He did that. And the last game against Wolves, he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, that I don't like on the Donny situation. Like, I think he should be getting more game time. Like, as a player, as I like him as a player, I think he should be. But I also think we have to look to the fact that there's a lot of stuff we don't see that's behind the scenes, and maybe he's literally just not up for it. He's not up to the standard, and there's probably Solskjaer and him are obviously having conversations and everything that's going on there. That he is protecting him, and he's going to bring him in at the right time. And I'm sure Pogba not leaving has kind of ruined that for Donny a bit. And if Solskjaer's saying in a press conference, he is still important. Like, it's not, we know Solskjaer is, like, I think is probably up there with the best managers, not just in the league, but in the world. I genuinely believe that he is. Talking to players and being with players like that, I think there's no one really better than him. So I think that if he's doing that, it's not a lie. I think he genuinely feels this, but then it's also up to Donny to get to that level as well. So I don't know what's going on, but I just feel there's more going on than just a £40 million player who's just not playing. That there is something else going on. That he's just not up to the standard to play consistently. And I understand.
They should have sold him. They should have sold him. Then.
But also it's the case of maybe he is, but he's not good enough to take over from Pogba. Maybe it is that we needed a year to get him up to the standard, because, like I said, the Eredivisie is so much below what it is, and then he shows his potential in the Champions League when they got in that run. So it's like there is a player here, but can he do it consistently in the Champions League, in the Premier League, in the FA Cup, in the League Cup, and everything? Maybe not yet, but maybe after a year, after a while, he will be. So I genuinely have no problem with him not playing that much last season. I would have liked to see more game time, maybe 10% more. But if he's not up for it, then I think Solskjaer is doing the right thing. And then we'll find out what happens this season. I think there definitely should be more game time this season, because promises have been made. And I think there will be if Solskjaer said it. But last season, I think it's about building the player, and I'm fine with that. I
mean, Kev, mate, World Cup coming. Big opportunity for a lot of players. I mean, if you're in Donny van der Beek's boots right now, what are you saying, mate? If he knows, if Ollie gives him that inkling that he's not going to get the game time he wants to solidify his spot in that Dutch side for the World Cup, are you thinking I've got to go? You've got to go. I said this after the match yesterday. I said, if I was Donny van der Beek after that, I would be knocking on Solskjaer's door and saying, what is the crack, mate? What is going on here? At the risk of repeating myself, if I can't get on against Southampton at St Mary's, what hope have I got? Can't even get a substitute appearance when we're 5-1 up against Leeds. So yes, from a selfish point of view, you've got to protect. If you want to plan to be in that World Cup squad and you're not going to get game time, you know, if the Dutch manager, Van Gaal, says you have to be playing first team football to be considered for this squad, then unfortunately he will have to look elsewhere. There wouldn't be a shortage of takers out there. I'm sure there'd be a lot of Premier League teams who would be interested in him. And this is where there is a theory that Solskjaer didn't actually want Donny van der Beek. Now, you can look at this however way you want, because we're all banging our heads here thinking, what has he done? You know, Kev's been on, Googled, he's not got a daughter, Solskjaer, you know what I'm saying? No, but that's a definite people.
Yeah. But it's mind-boggling, because you're like, well, he is good enough to play. So was he a Woodward signing? Because that was at the time when Ed Woodward was under huge pressure. You had gangs of lads turning up at his house, you know, Woodward out, Glazers out, which will always be there. But there is this theory that it was Woodward who was sounded out. Nobody else was in for Donny van der Beek. I think Real Madrid were, but they couldn't pay the fee. And he basically presented him to Solskjaer and said, we can sign him. It keeps the fans off his back. It looks like, you know, United have signed a player and stuff. And then deep down, maybe Solskjaer's like, well, do you know what? I didn't really want him. And there might be some substance in that where you go, well, that would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Because if he didn't want the player, then he's not going to play him.
Well, I think Donny van der Beek's had more airtime on United stand tonight than he has game time on the pitch. I think we owed him that one. I think all the fans owed him that one. But Beth, one player that is proven in the Premier League and did prove it towards the back end of last season with West Ham. He's old J-Lings himself, Jesse Lingard. And this is going to be an interesting one coming to the end because I think it has been muted. I think Rob Dawson at ESPN said that there has been some contact from West Ham, but it's just been brushed off by United. I'm not sure if Romano touched on Jesse Lingard too much, but I think, again, this last week's going to be interesting for Jesse Lingard and what decision he makes going forward.
Yeah, Romano basically said the same thing about the Donny situation. He said Lingard's going to decide in the next week what's going to happen, and it depends if any bids come in the next week. And plus, he wants to know as well, Lingard wants to know from Solskjaer, is he going to get game time? Because he wants game time. And of course, I think he knows himself it's not going to be first team appearances, but is he going to be part of the team? Is he going to make a difference in games? Or is he, again, like last year, just going to be sat on the bench? And I swear he didn't even start the Carabao Cup games last year. I think he came on as a sub. That's how far down he was. I do think Lingard's worked really hard to get his fitness back up, to get his mentality right. And I do think all of that is perfect right now. But I was saying this to someone the other day. I do think maybe it's just a little bit too late. I think the squad's grown and the team's grown without him being part of it. And now it'd be a massive, massive ask from him to get back in. And for me personally, he's fighting for the toughest positions in the team to get into. And Bruno's never going anywhere. You've got your left and your right wingers now that, for me, they are a few levels above. And if he goes to West Ham, he's one of the best players there. And I think that would be a great move for him. But in the back of Lingard's head, he might think, would I rather stay in Manchester at a place that I know for definite he loves, he's Manchester born and bred, stay at the team he supports and get the odd substitute appearance and still be part of it and possibly have an opportunity to win a trophy. That's where it's at now, because with Manchester United, you do have the option to win a trophy. With West Ham, don't think you have that option. Sometimes that is in the player's mind, but I think for him, he should probably leave. And I think if Manchester United were ruthless enough, they would have said to him, look, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to take West Ham's offer because, one, it's some money in the bank to invest in a player that's actually going to get into the team. And for two, it's just not worth having Jesse Lingard on your bench when you could get money for him and invest it into a first teamer. I don't think personally. Would I rather him stay over the likes of some of the other players that are still going to get bench time and minutes who I don't think are good enough? Of course I would. I do think he's better than a certain few players that are still there and aren't going to go anywhere. But at the end of the day, he's one of the players that we can get money for. So do I see him leaving though? I actually don't think he'll leave. I think he'll stay. And I think it could be one of them that if he's not getting the minutes in January, then it could possibly be one where he goes in January like last year.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, I've got a question for you in a second, but Kevin, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Again, World Cup round the corner. Jesse Lingard actually made the England squad playing for West Ham, mate. This is probably going to be Jesse Lingard's last World Cup. I think we can all safely say that. In terms of his age now and what's coming through talent-wise through the England ranks, Jesse Lingard, if he goes to West Ham and he plays the way he played towards the back end of last season, he has got a shout because we know Southgate thinks a lot of him. Jesse Lingard surely got to be looking at that, Kev.
Listen, there comes a point, Jesse Lingard's not a young lad anymore. He needs to look out for himself, for his own career. I've said it before. If he's got ambition to be the main player at West Ham, which he will be if he does end up going there, I still think this one will go through. I think United are probably just trying to hold out for, Daniel Levy kind of style. They probably just want a few more million more than what West Ham. It's a kind of game of poker that will go on till deadline day. But from Jesse Lingard's point of view, you would be looking exactly bob on with that. You'll be like, if I could go to West Ham, I'm the main man there. I'm guaranteed to start every week. And I think for footballers now, it's a massive thing that, of course. Who wants to be sat on the bench? It's the total flip reversal. You look at Donny van der Beek, cannot get in the Manchester United team. But if Jesse Lingard goes to West Ham, for me, he gets in that starting 11. And I think, do you know what? He's probably more loved at West Ham, or was, than he probably ever has been at Manchester United. And that's no disrespect to Jesse Lingard. We have a lot of players in that position. Now, if he wants to knuckle down and try and fight for his position at Manchester United, fair play to him. But I just cannot see him getting in there. Whereas at West Ham, he's the main man and he will have a great chance of getting into the England squad. Like you said, he was very, very close to getting into that Euro squad, and that was all to do with his form for West Ham. He can continue that goal at Manchester United. You know, do you want to be subjected to Carabao Cup games against, you know, I don't know, some dog shit team? He needs to be looking and thinking, I need to be playing every week in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, mate, here's one for you. I mean, Beth touched on Jessie Lingard's thing there, the love of Manchester, his lifestyle and whatnot. When everyone's fit, does Jessie Lingard make the bench, Joe?
No. And he's not staying at Man United. He's gone. Like, there is not a hope in hell he is staying past the transfer window. He is, I think this is actually ingenious from the club, because if you look at it, he's going into the final year of his contract. Okay, we got you look back at January, we've got no bargaining power whatsoever. Like, if we're going to get rid of him, we probably would have got 15 million if we sold him last January, considering he had 18 months left in his contract. He goes to West Ham. He plays like as one of the best players in the league at that point. It's absolutely exceptional. He, like you're saying, almost gets into the England squad that end up going all the way to the final, unfortunately. And then he comes back to United and we play him in pre-season games and he comes on in Premier League games. So suddenly West Ham are inquiring to us, when a couple of months ago we were hoping that we might be able to get rid of him. Like, we're going to get an extra 10 or 50, maybe not 15 million, but maybe 35 million for a player in his last year of his contract who's 28, 29 years old, who we're making out the seam that has something to do this season. Not a hope is he staying this season, all right? He is gone. He knows it. We all know it. And it's the best move for everyone. And the club are just getting as much money as possible. Ideally, he will go for the same amount of money that we'll be spending on Ruben Neves, and it'll just be a beautiful transfer window for everyone. But there was not a hope in hell. I love Jay Lings, and I'm so happy he's going to do great things at West Ham. I hope he never scores or does anything well against us. And thanks for the League Cup and for the FA Cup and for the Charity Shield even, and scoring a few times against Liverpool. I love him. I love this. He's amazing, but he's gone.
Oh, Joe, does
he go to a week where he's not, where he's still at the club and the transfer window is closed?
Does he not beg the question as to why you brought him on yesterday? Did he actually think, right, I'm bringing Lingard on to go and win this game? Or is there a bit of, we're putting him in the shop window? Is it like a game of chess with West Ham where, well, we're actually keeping him, look, we're playing him, you know? Is it? I can't understand that one.
No, I think a little bit of both. I think it's like he thinks he can actually affect this game. Look at what he did at the back end of last season. I know the potential. I know everything he can do. Absolutely, I'm throwing him on because I think he can do something. I don't think he's just throwing him on for the crack and being like, haha, West Ham, he's our player. I think they threw him on because they thought he could affect the game. He didn't. So that probably brought down his value $1 million or $2 million. But at the end of the day, United, it worked on all parts of it, and West Ham are fuming, but we're going to get a bit of extra money. So it's all good. But thanks, Jay Lings. But that's it, unfortunately.
I would say.
Adam is frozen with distraught.
I think he's just smiling and taking what you just said.
Yeah, so
Wi-Fi's gone.
Yeah, we're still here, thankfully. So Jay Lings is gone, yeah? Does everyone think I'm right?
I don't know. I think he might end up staying, but I don't know. I think it might just because we're going to hold out for the money and it doesn't come. And there was rumours today that apparently West Ham are going to go in for Kurt Zuma. So that's going to be a bit of money out of their transfer budget, I don't know. I don't know how big West Ham's transfer budget is, but I'm assuming if they buy Kurt Zuma, then that's kind of it gone for the end of the window.
Do you want Lingard to stay?
Not really, but I'm not. I don't mind, to be honest. Like, it's one of them where it's not my money. If selling him meant that we were going to get a decent midfielder in that would start, then 100% I'd go for it. But if I still think if he leaves, we won't spend money on a midfielder. I just think it'll be extra money for the board and the Glazers, and I genuinely do believe that. And I do think he offers more to the squad than a few players that we have got, and I do think he offers something. The way he was playing at West Ham was a lot better than what we've seen of him within the past year, and I do think he offers something, but it's not enough to get into the first team.
So who would you put ahead of him then? Who would you put behind him? I mean, who would you put Jessie Lingard ahead of?
Dan James, Juan Mata.
I was going to lose myself with Juan Mata, then I remember, no, he's like 100 years old, Joe.
No, he's like...
Let Juan Mata the pass go.
Player, but he's just a bit old now, and it sounds
he is. No, absolutely.
But he's just got no legs, so I put Lingard before Mata, I put Lingard before Dan James, and out of our attacking options, he's going to be the only one that's really going to be able to be used off the bench. For me personally, you've got a bench and it's got Dan James, Juan Mata and Jessie Lingard on it. Jesse Lingard would be my first choice over that. If Bruno got injured, he would actually be my next choice as a number 10. If he went, would I want the money to spend on the midfielder? Absolutely. But I just think it's one of them where he'll leave, we'll get the money and we won't even reinvest it.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I take it we are still talking about Jesse Lingard coming on off the bench.
Yeah, we are.
We are going to touch on what actually went down yesterday as well in the game. But quickly, one deal confirmed. I don't know if Romano touched on it. We've seen the pictures, Beth, earlier on. But Brandon Williams out on loan to Norwich. Talking about the right-hand side, we've got that. Also, Dalot now looks like he is going to be the main backup for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Was that pretty much confirmed with Romano? Beth, was he? Yeah. Did he touch on Dalot?
Yeah, he basically said Trippier is too expensive for us to go for, and we'd only go for another right back if Trippier leaves within this last week. But he said Milan have already sorted someone for their fullback position, so it's very, very unlikely that Dalot is going to leave. Apparently, Solskjaer's very impressed with his attitude in training, and he believes that he can be part of the squad this season. And I think he's basically there as a backup to Wan-Bissaka, possibly even a backup at left back, depending on when Telles comes back from injury. And I don't think he's the worst person to have as your option on the bench as a fullback. So It was one of them. I would have wanted a right back that could be a little bit more attacking, because personally for me in some games, Wan-Bissaka doesn't give me that. Like in the games against low blocks, I would love a right back that can just get to the byline and get a cross in. Wan-Bissaka's not quite up to that standard yet, so I would have liked that option, but I don't think Dalot's going to get game time to even prove it. I said it in after my interview with Romano. I think it's going to be one of them where Wan-Bissaka literally plays every single game going, and he'll probably get a few Carabao Cup games, but at least he's a decent option to have as a backup.
Yeah, there's a certain Mancunian regular on this show who would have Dalot ahead of Wan-Bissaka, just so you know.
Who's that? Oh,
yeah.
You've got to know who that is. If you know him well enough anyway, you know. We'll get on to some other comments from our man Ricky as well, because I have spoke to him today regarding the game yesterday.
I just think he'd like Dalot's defensiveness, to be honest.
No. He's a Dalot man.
Oh,
he is,
I've seen that clip of him actually saying,
Yeah. He's a star.
Riding a bike or something. That was funny.
Yeah, he does. We'll get onto that when we touch on the game in a minute. Joe, mate, I mean, in terms of Brandon Williams, Beth's talking there. Dalot struggling to get ahead of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Is Brandon Williams' United career in doubt now? He's signed his big contract. We all know that, but that means nothing with United in terms of getting game time. Does Brandon Williams ever get any more game time at Manchester United now?
No, I don't think so. And I do really like him. I always thought he was... he always gave 100% and had a great energy and everything on the pitch. But I never really thought he was up to a standard for being not even a rotation player, which is a shame because obviously he came up through the youth ranks and everything, local lad. So it is a shame. But I do think like this loan move, you never know. It could revitalize things and get it going. But I don't really see a future at the club, unfortunately. And but I hope, and like with these long-term contracts, I think we signed them a lot of time just so we can sell them and actually get a bit of money. So hopefully he goes to Norwich and is a huge success, and maybe comes back to United and can fight for a place. But I really just don't see it happening. And I hope we could end up getting a good fee for him down the road, maybe.
Yeah. Another one, Kev, who was in United's youth system, the captain, looked like the shining light when he burst onto the scene. Mate, I can remember was there at Old Trafford, mate. He looked like a whirlwind. He looked like we'd cracked it. Like Brandon Williams was really going to give Aaron Wan-Bissaka some heavy competition for that right back, but second season syndrome sort of hit Brandon, didn't it, in a way?
I think it's a brilliant move for the player. I can see him challenging, but it really depends on how this season goes. And what better place to go to than to be going to play for Norwich, because he is going to be flat out defending. You know what I mean? He's getting tested. There'll be no easy game. I know there's no easy games in the Premier League, but at Norwich, Jesus Christ. I mean, there's going to be some teams coming at them. So as long as he gets the game time that he's promised, I think we've seen a lot of youngsters leave Man United, promised game time and never really got it. It's quite annoying to see, but at Norwich, they're down to the bare bones. You know, they look like they're going to go straight back down again, bit of a yo-yo club. So listen, they've got Brandon Williams in, Gilmore as well, fantastic talent.
Yeah.
You just have to see how it goes. I mean, long term, I would like to think that he could challenge to get into the team. It's up to the player himself what he's going to do, how he goes about this seaon. The main thing is you don't get bogged down. I think a lot of United fans can get bogged down with the fact that he's a Manchester lad. He's come through the academy and stuff. You know, ultimately, it's lovely. It's a fairy tale and all that. But sometimes you do have to step back and go, is he good enough to be in the team? You know, but time will tell.
It's it, mate. He could have a stormer at Norwich. I mean, 54 million and Gilmore and Williams on loan. It's quite decent for a team coming up from the Championship. But I mean, contracts, Beth. Williams got his, we know that. But two big players in our midfield. Well, I think we all want Pogba to sign his contract. Well, probably not everyone. I think there's a few United fans fed up with the shenanigans of Pogba's entourage and whatnot. But Bruno as well. I know that's a priority on United's list right now to get nailed down. This is when we should have been doing Pogba's deal, really. A couple of 2 or 3 years before it actually runs out. I mean, Romano touched on the contract situations with them now being top priority. I mean, we all wanted another player to come in, Beth, maybe a holding midfielder, or hope springs eternal, all that. But it does look like now United are just trying to secure what they have got already.
I mean, if it means Bruno signing a contract, I don't care if it's first priority, because he is the first priority, because he's the mainstay in our team. He's the creator. And you know what? I'm really enjoying the relationship that he actually is building with Pogba on the pitch. I feel like every game they play together, they just keep getting better and better together. And a lot of people used to say, oh, they can't play in the same team, Jamie Carragher, but they can play in the same team. And I think they work so well together because they're both on each other's levels. They're both extremely talented players, probably one of the most talented in our team. And I would love Pogba to sign the contract and stay. I've said it so many times in this show, but even though he has been inconsistent for us, I feel like he has got his head screwed on now. And I do think he's a great, great player. And if you're playing him a little bit with a freer role, the way he kind of gets for France because of Kante's there, I do think he'd be top for us. The relationship he's building with Bruno, he's building a top midfield. And I don't really want to start building this midfield that's got Bruno Fernandes in, Paul Pogba in, really top talents, and then him leave, and then you have to get someone else in, and I don't trust the board to get someone else in who's good enough to replace him. So if they're first priority, then I'm extremely happy about that, and that should be the priority. Do I think Pogba will sign the contract? I'm literally like 50-50 on this. Part of me is like, the positive side of me is like, yeah, we're going to be doing well by Christmas, and he's going to sign it because he loves Bruno. He's got Varane. He's loving it now, and he's playing so well for us. But then the second part of my head's like, is he just putting himself in the shop window to get a big wage? So I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. But if he did leave, we'd need to get the right replacement, because you've seen the last 2 games how much he can influence our team when he's playing the way that we all know he can do.
Yeah, I mean, Beth touched on it there, Joe, mate. I mean, when a decent CDM is right next to Pogba, World Cup winners come around. Do you know what I mean, mate? If United actually went out and got a CDM and put him next to Pogba, that might be the key. That might be what Beth's saying there in terms of building this midfield. But Romano pretty much downs the Ruben Neves comments. I just know this guy's going to go and bang one in top bins against us then Sunday now, just to wind us all up like he always does.
Yeah.
But Joe, mate, I mean, Pogba for you right now, Beth's 50-50. Is Bruno more important to get done? We know Pogba's going to be here for the season, mate. And if it is the priority of the football club right now, are you happy with that midfield going into the season?
No, never. God, no. Heaven above that, I'm miserable with that midfield going into the season. There was no part of me that McFred brings any part of joy. The only thing that makes me happy about Scott McTominay is that he turned down England to play for Scotland. That's it. Okay. Aside from that, I am filled with fear and no anticipation about the season with those two holding it. But to do with the contracts, Bruno absolutely is our talisman, is our number one player, is our key guy. So absolutely get that contract done. But let's be honest, there's less stress on that because we know Bruno wants to stay and he's already got enough on his contract that we should really make Pogba the priority for the next 6 months. I feel that this contract won't get signed till maybe November. I think, and I'm kind of okay with that because it works on both sides. Because Pogba has been absolutely sensational the start of the season, right? Especially the game against Leeds, was probably our best player against Southampton as well, and got the assist. But we all know the biggest problem with Pogba is the consistency issue. So absolutely, if he signs his contract now and then suddenly he becomes the Pogba I don't like saying this, what we're used to, where it's game on, game off sort of thing. Then you're like, we have him now for a couple more years and we're going to have the same issue. So if we waited a little while, just, put the negotiations on the long finger, and then we see him actually consistently playing. I'm not saying 4 assists every game or even assist every game, but just influencing every game. Then I'm absolutely give him all the money in the world. Because guess what? It's not our money. I couldn't care if he's getting €1 billion a week, because it doesn't make a difference to me. It doesn't make me richer or poorer. Okay, it just means our football club is better if he's playing at his best. So he can get as much money as he wants, as long as he is playing up to the standard that we want him to do as often as possible. And I think if we hold on until maybe October, November, and we see the player that he is going to be for the entire season, then sign him up to that contract for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, mate, everyone's touched on it in the comments. Beth sort of alluded to it. Joe has as well, without realising. It's if a player does come in that midfield, mate, and you've got Ollie as the manager, are you confident that a player that we bought for 35 million, bearing in mind we bought Donny for 40 million, is going to start ahead of McFred?
I think it really depends who it is. I think he has his favourites, doesn't he? And ultimately, this could be his downfall at Man United. I've said it before. He needs to really look at what's best for the team, and not this, I've relied on these in the past before. They had a good game, 50 games ago. They put in a man of match performance as a duo in midfield. Something is not working. A lot of people, United fans, can see it when they watch it. Again, I'll touch back on yesterday. Ringing.
We've got the old style Nokia ringtone.
It's that one. I tell you, transfer window's open.
It's Jim White ringing.
It's Harry Redknapp. All you need is your little door now, with your head sticking out the door, Redknapp style, mate.
On a wheeler and dealer.
Go on, Kev.
Listen, he needs to break it up. I would say, I've touched on it before, and what I am really, really hoping is the signing of Varane. And I know there was a lot of people yesterday, if he's good enough to be on the bench, why is he not in? And that, he didn't play in that Burnley game behind closed doors, so he's obviously not up to speed even to play that. What I would be hoping is that the signing of Varane, and when he gets into this team, that possibly then the McTominay-Fred partnership gets broken up. And that's where you look at throwing a more attacking-minded player into that midfield, because you don't need that player or two players doing one person's job. Because for me, Varane and Maguire will be able to handle themselves. Yeah. You're not holding the hand of Lindelof, covering for stupid mistakes and stuff like that. And that is what I am hoping. So I want to see that come to light once Varane comes in. But on the question of will he break it up, like I say, favourites, innit? Jobs for the boys and all that. But
pretty much takes us on to the last subject before we finish up tonight. We have to talk about it, unfortunately, guys. Joe, you've not had your full say, I don't think, on what went down yesterday. I think everyone's heard me, Beth and Kev giving our opinions on most of the game. I want to get your opinions on a couple of other things, actually, Bev and Kev, in a second. But Joe, where did it go wrong for you yesterday, mate? Was it a case of the team lineup? Was it a case just a really, really bad, sluggish start to the game? Like, we just weren't ready for what was coming.
Yeah, no, it was very frustrating. It's not something I'm too concerned about as the season going in, because it felt like an away performance from last season where we don't win the game. Well, sorry, we don't lose the game, but we don't actually play exceptionally well, and we're kind of poor in the first half. We get a little bit better in the second half, but still not good enough. But the difference is, like, we still have Sancho to properly come into full flight. Obviously, he's getting up to full thickness. I imagine he'll start against Wolves. We have Varane to come in. We have Rashford to come back. We have Cavani to come back. Like, we have a lot of our soon-to-be star players or already established star players that are missing at the moment. So it still feels like we're at the bare bones and maybe not the best place to be in the season at the moment. But so I'm not too concerned with that. But definitely we should have been good enough to put away Southampton. Considering that, though, we did go, if you look at last season, we did go 2-0 down against them, and we won the last kick of the game from Cavani. So us drawn with them isn't the biggest surprise, even though we went on to beat them 9-0 in the same season. So it is a difficult place to go. It's very, very frustrating, and you kind of looked around going, Liverpool won, City obviously destroyed Norwich. That we were like, we just needed it. And Liverpool have been like, I hate talking about them at all, but like they've played teams they should have beaten and beaten them, and we have played teams we should have beaten and beaten one of them, you know, and they did it without any issue. So I'm kind of annoyed that we should have still beaten Southampton. We had the opportunities, but it's just it was like left over from last season happening now. But I'm not too worried considering, like I said, we do have the boys coming back and the new guys coming in, that I feel the remnants of this is the last time we will see this team from last season play like they did. So it's annoying, but I don't think there's anything we need to be too concerned about.
Yeah, you talk about difficult away game, mate. I can't stand the place. God, I've still not seen a win there. It's doing my head in.
Oh, really?
The drive down there. It's like the one time we're not there, we actually win. But when the fans come back, we get that performance again. It's so frustrating. It really is. And everyone yesterday was just so happy to be back in the away section and singing and whatnot. I think by the end of it, it was just like a bit of a reality slap in the face. Like, oh, God, here we go again. This is going to be one of them seasons. But Kev, I want to ask you quickly on what Ollie said afterwards, mate, because I came out of that game and everyone heard what I thought on the game in my match vlog, and then I heard Ollie's interview, and people on the radio actually taking the mick out of him. I'm just like, I don't want to, but I can understand why. He actually said that we had several big chances in the game, and I'm going, I don't know when they were, mate. Can you enlighten me? I mean, what he says sometimes on press conferences is what a lot of fans come in on him for afterwards, and he doesn't help himself, I don't think, because I didn't see us at one time in that game control it, considering we had most of the ball. I didn't think we were in control once.
No, I would say I did actually make the point yesterday. I did say there was a header in the first half, Lindelof. We just totally missed the ball. It was more or less like a free header. If he'd have dived, you know, and that goes on target, great chance of scoring. There was the Pogba one where he kind of shot and it was, you know, cleared. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Greenwood had a free header in the second half, which if he puts that on target. But you're only really talking maybe 4 or 5 chances. And I'd had a drink yesterday while I was watching the game. I was fuming when I got on the fan forum yesterday, but I try to look at the positives sometimes, and I was just struggling yesterday. I think the only thing on it was I kind of said, you know, if we had the chances, we just didn't take them. And then I'm like, what have I just said that for? You know, I thought really over time yesterday, we were pretty awful. And for me, the minute I see Matic and Fred in midfield, it just sets the tone for the day. I'm thinking, what is he even thinking here, man? This is Southampton. I said it yesterday. It's not Bayern Munich. It's not Barcelona. It's not Liverpool away, whoever, Chelsea away. I can understand that. If you want to go there to defend, you know, have them 2 players sat in front of the back 4, you don't want to give much away. But this is a team that we beat 9-0, for Christ's sake, last season. And yet we go there with that midfield pairing like that. And it just kind of set the tone for the rest of the game then. And then, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's didn't react to anything, making changes. Half time. Come on, mate. You know, we need to get back in this game. Doesn't make the change. And for me, he didn't react to that. And you can tell I'm still not happy. Yeah,
I mean, Bev, 24 hours has gone by. You've had plenty of time to think. Have you watched any of it back, or has it been too painful? Is it looking back? I mean, I watched Mark's video last night, and he made me feel even worse. I'm just turning everything off here. I can't watch anymore. I mean, Kev touched on it there, but it was very defensive against a very poor Southampton team, wasn't it?
Yeah, match of the day wasn't watched. The highlights weren't watched. And after I'd done the fan forum, I just thought, I'm not going on Twitter either. I just wanted to forget about yesterday's game, to be honest, because I was fuming, and now you're talking about it again, I'm getting even more fuming. And people were saying in the comments, you're overreacting, it's only the second game of the season.
I heard that.
But guys, it's the second game of the season. You should be trying to stage a run of games where you're winning. You want to get the confidence up. You want a winning streak. And you know what? Paul Pogba said it best. I think we'll regret them 2 points at the end of the season. These are points that could be between being challenging for the title or even winning the title, they're not doing. These are points that you can't afford to lose. You can't afford to lose against Southampton. I'd understand if we drew against one of the big 6 teams. That'd be understandable as long as we played well. But yesterday, for me, I don't think we played great. I thought we played okay. I thought we were lethargic. I thought we were slow. I thought the Fred and Matic in midfield against this Southampton team, I thought was not needed in the slightest. I thought his substitutions were very like for like. I didn't think it changed the game whatsoever. And I was just disappointed in the performance, bar a few players, Pogba, Greenwood, De Gea. But apart from them, I was extremely disappointed in the performance. And I just thought to myself, it's the same story as last season where we'd lose these stupid points for no reason. Because we had, even though we weren't playing great yesterday, we could have won that game. We could have won it, but I don't think the right tactics were put in place when you've seen how we're playing to win that game. I don't think the right substitutions were made to win that game. And I thought the starting 11 to start off wasn't right for the game as well. But even if you get the starting 11 wrong, you still have opportunities in the game to change it to make sure that you win. And I said yesterday on Twitter, the teams that win trophies, the big teams, manage to win games that they're not necessarily playing well in. And we should have got that game over the line yesterday, and it didn't happen. And that's why I was gutted about it, because I thought we should have won it.
Yeah. I went in with 3-0. I was fully confident. I did the road trip video. I was buzzing. I was going in there thinking absolutely going to just smash these all over the park. There's no way we can go from what we did at Leeds to that, but we did. It was like night and day. Now, I have spoken to Ricky as well, guys, today. Even though it was on text, I could feel the anger in his texts. And Ricky's okay with me. Everyone knows what Ricky's like, and he's happy with me to say exactly what he thought on the game. But Greenwood was awful, apparently, yesterday, which I couldn't understand. Awful. Greenwood was awful for Ricky. And it comes down to it again. For me, the main problem... And I've listened to everyone's comments. I've had all the DMs and everyone messaging me. I've listened to everyone's comments, breaking it down. Greenwood's a centre forward. And I think one of our major problems is, Kev touched on it. I hate the word. It's the favourite tag. Why the hell is Mason Greenwood being shoehorned outside again to make room for Anthony Martial? Joe, I'm going to ask you, mate. 6 years of Anthony Martial now. And... I'm looking at this guy now. He's taking away game time for me from Mason Greenwood. He was the shining light in this team right now. Why, after playing one of the best performances he's played in the United shirt in a central role against Leeds, is this guy now being put out again? And last season, Joe, I'll get to it in a second, one sec. He was the one who was always subbed off by Ole. It was never Rashford. It was never Martial. It was always Greenwood first. He always seemed like the scapegoat. When are we going to see Ole actually take charge of this team and actually say, you know what, we have to play the best team, not the so-called best players? Because Martial's had his chance, mate, and he's getting in the way for me now of Mason Greenwood. That's harsh to say, but that's just how I feel right now with it.
I completely not to agree with you. I've been sick and tired of Martial for the longest time. For me, he is someone with the potential to be one of the best players in the world, who will never ever touch on that because he just hasn't got the right attitude. You can say injuries upset it and all like that, but he gets in his own way constantly. He's like Balotelli if he wasn't a party animal. He just he has everything, but he will never get there, I don't think. Like you said, it was the easy thing to do. He wanted to get Martial onto the pitch, and he wanted to get Greenwood onto the pitch as well. Greenwood can play on the right-hand side, Martial can't. Pogba playing the left-hand side there, so obviously he's not going to put Martial there, and he wanted to get him in to keep, well, I don't want to say to keep Martial FC happy, but I think yesterday's performance showed exactly why. Like, I don't want to say the sooner Martial is gone, the better, because I will completely understand. I forgot this at the time, that he's coming back from injury, all the sort of stuff. He was injured over the summer. That's fine, but so poor, so constantly is just so incredibly frustrating. And also, he's coming back from injury. Maybe he shouldn't be starting. I don't. Greenwood up front with Dan James on the right hand side, even though that's not his natural position on the right hand side, is fine for me against Southampton, and I guarantee we would have come out with a victory. Martial was on for 60 minutes or so and did nothing but get in the way and to be substandard. So I'm look, he's obviously going to be here till the end of the season. Whatever happens after that, happens after that. I hope every Man United player is a huge success, but my patience is running thin with him. I don't know what he can do to turn this around, but he needs to get out of his own way. And I don't know what Solskjaer is going to do, because after seeing that performance today, there was no way he could start against Wolves. But also I have a good feeling that Solskjaer will start him against Wolves, because at times Solskjaer likes to make us miserable. But But with Martial, the clock is running down fast, and people just need to get over their infatuation with him. I don't know what it is. I really don't understand why people are so utterly in love with him, because he's had 2 good seasons out there. Is it 6 he's been here now?
6 now. Yeah.
6. 2 good seasons. And I just don't understand why people are so insanely in love with him. I can understand. I hate footballers' names FC. Of course, everyone should. I can kind of understand why people love Pogba, because that sort of makes sense. He's a World Cup winner. He does it for France, all this sort of stuff. There's an argument there. But with Martial, it's constant, just 6 out of 10, you know. And then last season just being abysmal. And then people constantly defending him. I just don't understand it. I'm willing to put it down to injury and Solskjaer starting him and for him not having a good performance. But really, we're getting past overtime here, and he needs to sort himself out, because I don't know how he can come back from this. But yeah,
I'm only going on about the front line at the moment because we have touched on midfield already, and we all know where the issues are there. But Kev, in terms of Martial, I'm not going to just label Martial right now, but Rashford and Martial, very similar sort of times at the club right now, and these are players that have been a big part. I'm not saying they have single-handedly been the issue at Manchester United, but they've been there. Their whole United careers have been through this spell of garbage, mate. Let's just put it right. In terms of United standards, have we actually moved past the likes of Martial now? In terms of like Sancho's there, Pogba plays in the front line, Cavani's there, Greenwood's coming through. Martial may still be a decent squad player for Manchester United, but is he going to be happy accepting being a squad player? Is he a player that wants to be playing? Does he do enough to show you that he wants to be the main man?
Mark, the big problem with Martial at the minute is the fact that he has that number 9 shirt, and I think he wants to be a striker. We mentioned this yesterday, and for me, Martial he'll never be a number 9 at Manchester United. Now, I said yesterday I've got no problem with him playing on the left, coming in off the left-hand side like Thierry Henry used to do. We've seen it to devastating effect. We've seen it on his debut against Liverpool, that running out from the left on the byline, cutting in, scoring. That is his strength. Martial's strength is running at defenders and being able to, cut one way, bend the ball in the corner of the net. We've seen it so many times. But as a striker, that yesterday, and this is where we're hugely missing Eddie Cavani. He was 84 years old. But by God, that guy knows how to play as a number 9. He's been there, he's done it. And there's so much to it that Martial, attribute-wise, has not got. The main one being holding the ball up. Look at Lukaku yesterday, who's come back. One of our main criticisms was that Lukaku couldn't hold the ball up. He's gone to Italy, spent a season there, gone to Chelsea yesterday, and it looks like he's actually brushed up on that. But for Martial, yesterday, I never seen him dropping into holes, asking for the ball. And yet everybody was in the comments section yesterday. He didn't get any service. I'm sorry, but you have to get more involved in the game. Drag defenders out of line. Make that movement. There's no point standing there and throwing your arms up in the air, because you're not getting the ball. You have to go and get involved in that game and make things happen. That's what top strikers do. You don't very rarely see Cavani stood about, do you? Guy comes back, defends corners a lot. He drops in and he's looking to get involved in the play all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Beth, does Martial get into your starting lineup now? I mean, this is a guy wearing the number 9 shirt, like Kev said. I mean, have we moved past Martial now in terms of our first team and our best team? He used to be the shining light. For like Joe said, there were seasons when we thought, this is it. We move on, we crack on from here, but the good season, the bad season, the good season, the bad season, that's not what this club needs right now. We need stability, and we need to say, look, you're undroppable. But Martial isn't that, is he?
No, he's not, unfortunately. And I can understand why people do really like him, because I still do like him, and I was one of them people that I was a massive Martial fan. Purely because he's shown, he's like a tease. He shows in moments how good he actually can be. Like, he can be so good in some moments. Like that goal against Watford, I still remember it, where he took it round the keeper and then chipped it over him. He's so technically gifted, and I think he has one of the best feet out of like our whole forward line. He used to be ice cold with his finishing, but I feel like as of late, his finishing is not ice cold anymore. He's not got the strike that he used to have. Even when Kev said like he'd be good on the left, I used to think that so much. I used to think he needs to be a left winger. But I feel like because he's bulked up to be a striker, when I saw him move out onto the left yesterday and was like trying to dribble around the defender, I thought he seemed a little bit less agile than he was. So even in that position, I don't know if he'd particularly flourish. And he's one of them players where we used to be like, oh my God, we can't have Martial injured. We need him in our team. And now it's one of them where I thought Southampton was his chance to show himself. Personally, I don't think he'll ever be the number 9 that Cavani is. He just won't be. He's not that type of player. He's more of a fluid striker. And he's not going to be that target number 9. But he could have shown himself to be like the player he was when we were in lockdown, because he has got it in his locker. He can be a decent player for that number 9 spot. And he can be a decent player out on the left as well, like Kev said. I think he does hold the ball up well. He didn't hold it up well against Southampton at all. And I don't think he is as lazy as everybody makes out. But I do think he makes the wrong decisions. And I do think he's a massive, massive confidence player. And I think his confidence right now is probably on the floor. And we've seen it when Ibrahimovic came in. Like his career kind of went down from there. And then he was getting back up again when he left. And now Cavani's come in. He seems to have dipped again. And to play for Manchester United, you just can't have that mentality. You've got to think, I'm going to be in that team no matter what, and you keep trying to prove yourself. I feel like with Martial, that's not happened. I think he should have took his chance against Southampton. I don't think he did. Lack of service can be an excuse, but when Cavani plays up front, when Greenwood plays up front and they score goals, is that a lack of service? No. You can still get yourself involved in the game, like Kev said. And I just think, how many more chances is he going to get? And I feel like that was Ollie yesterday saying, this is your chance to make a mark to get into the starting 11. And he just didn't take it. And when everyone's back, I love the guys. I love the player, but he doesn't get into that forward line for me, first choice, on his form at the moment.
This is it. I mean, has Ole really got the time to try and give the time to these players to try and prove himself right? I mean, let's not forget, and before I didn't realise the time, they were going to finish up shortly, but let's not forget, Ole Solskjaer had Lukaku in his ranks. He let Lukaku go. He put his eggs in the Martial basket. He backed Martial over Lukaku. Let's not get it wrong. And Ole, I think he does it with Fred. I think he's just trying to make a player out of Fred at the risk of results. And I think this is where he's letting him down. And he's brought first-team players in this summer, and he's still not played anyone yet. I'm just like, Ole, seriously, there's going to come a time, mate, when you need to just pick your team, play your best team, and then stick with it. We can't keep changing players and changing players' positions. I think that's even worse. Changing players' positions that are actually starting games. That's worse than bringing them out. Yeah. Because 1 week they're playing well there and then it gets swapped around. I just don't think he's got another season to actually mess around with a team. But we'll see what he does against Wolves. I don't know how I'm feeling about it, but we will see. I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, we're going to finish up the show there. Just going to say a quick thanks to Bev. Thanks for coming on, Bev. Great work before as well with the Romano video.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. And we'll all be back again next Sunday. Or maybe only a few of us will. We'll see what see what he's saying.
Yeah. Kev, as always, mate, cheers for coming on, bud.
Always a pleasure, mate. Never a chore. Thank you very much.
Lovely job, Blair. And Joe, I got the name wrong at the start.
Got the name right,
getting it right at the end, mate. Cheers for coming on, mate. I've loved the positivity in parts, mate, and the brutal honest there. Cheers for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. Absolute pleasure. Cheers, man.
Thanks for everyone in the comment section, the super chats. Don't forget to give the video a like, drop down, and do have a watch of Bev's video with Romano. That is there on the channel as well on the main page to get all the inside info, what's going on in the transfer window. Subscribe if you haven't already, guys, if you're watching for the first time. And we're out of here. We'll see you in the week. Bye-bye.